Ah, God, there's volumes I can write on the subject of this fucking movement they made. The day that this section's about, me and Daniel Bostock saw this. We actually saw this with our eyes. We saw that big, like, huge Asian WWE fighter guy who turned up as a minder for that, and he brought the right guy with him. He was a monster. Turned up as a minder for that alley day. On that day, the day for freedom, fucking glorious weather day. Couldn't ask for better. Great turnout. It was practically wherever you looked, you see somebody you knew from the internet. So everyone wants to talk to Dan, who I'm with, because he's put them songs out and everyone recognises him. So everyone's coming along, Dan. So we're stood on the road at the side. We found ourselves a spot where we can see. And we got to see that ugliness and fighting break out, and heard what was going on at the time, as to say this guy was invited and then suddenly he was uninvited, and apparently it's all Lucy's fault. And it's like, hey, I was there. How many people saw that episode? Me and Dan did. We saw it. We watched that. And it's like, that don't just happen. That's not someone turning up as an uninvited guest to fuck with your shit. That was someone who turned up in good faith because he'd been invited somewhere, and then he was suddenly uninvited, and everyone was denying all knowledge, and threw Luce out to dry. Just threw Luce off the boat. All that kerfuffle. She comes walking up the road, and me and Dan, we look at each other and we look across, and she looks like she's in a bit of distress. And what did we say to each other? She's lovely, isn't she, Lucy? Like, yeah, she's lovely. In view of shit in the future that went on when it came to that ridiculous panorama thing that was done, right? Where I'm stitching up Hope Not Hate and bringing out this pano drama. I had deep questions about what the fuck was going on with that support staff, and who's advising you. Because I'm like, you're not a full shilling, Mr. Robinson. You are not a smart man by any stretch of the imagination. Surely you must have someone at some stage come along and look out for you. Say no. Say don't do this. Say this is... So in me putting out my view of what was going on with him and his support staff, it appears that Lucy at the time didn't have so many allies, and was, as I now understand, astonished by some of the criticism she was facing. Like some of the people after her, the things I've heard on the internet of what she's done and what she's up to and what her agenda is, it's like, oh my God. Right. So I spoke to her and put it to her right at the start as to say, like, I've got nothing against you. So far as I know, it's like I saw what went on down in London, and I believe you based on what I saw. It's like, that don't happen in a vacuum. People don't randomly turn up and that kick off. It's like, it was obvious what was going on. We knew what was going on the ground, and then all of a sudden there was some retcon, some internet post removed, and suddenly they've thrown you out to dry. It's like... So I put it to Lucy, it's like, would you like to make friends? I'll make friends with you, Lucy. You see, there's a problem that Lucy's got, right? I'm going to tell you what Lucy's problem is, right? Lucy is, she's one of these people who's like very beautiful, but it's kind of nothing to her, although she does like to look nice, right? So she's easy about herself. So she can come across as unfamiliar, over-familiar, and a little bit laddish sometimes, right? So she's like, maybe comes across as someone who overshares, right? And she doesn't realise that to the sort of men who struggle to separate their feelings from their friendships, people tend to fall in love with Lucy. And it ruins all her best relationships, friendships. So when you find that she becomes friends with like the gay guys, Caroline, George, like, well, that kind of makes sense. It's like she's got a serious problem with it. People, right, who she comes to rely on, you know, because she's a team player. She's really good, this one, right? I'm saying it's like, come across a few people in my travels on the internet, in speaking to people, and it's like, she's best one. What? It's like, yeah, she knows the limitations, this one. She's a great communicator. She's an idea, how to produce, how to create. It's like, she's not nobody. She's not some blogger who was in the bloody living room making videos and then decided to step up one. It's like, she's been trained. It's like, she's a professional. She's a good photographer. She knows how to use cameras. She knows how to set up sound. She knows how to do the lights. She knows how to slap some makeup on. It's like, she's a professional. It's like she could go anywhere and earn in her profession, which is photography, set dressing, that kind of thing. She's really good at it. And it's like, that comes with it a certain sense of style and organisation that's like almost it's a great coming together of skills, but that same person would have their own issues, if you like. It's a trade-off, but she's very talented. I like Lucy a lot. She's a talented person, has a sense of humour, is sensible, by and large, a sensible person, well organised, right? A decent person. And to know that she's been in such incredible sort of emotional distress over betrayal. It's really, it's not, I'm not someone who chokes up, you know what I mean? I'm not someone who gets scared, but I'm like, she's been wronged. Wronged and used and manipulated. And for the longest time, still maintained a loyalty to people who'd ruined her life. So she'd had her life ruined by certain people's lies, and she was still defending them. Still defending them for the movement. She says at the end of this video, Southern, she says, build something out of what's left that's worth something. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's the process. That's what happens anyway, you know, nice bit of wisdom. But I put it to you, as to, well, watch this. I'm going to make a long video. It's like, well, watch this. Watch what Lauren has to say. It's like, if you're going to try to do what they did and build a kind of alliance, it's like, she shouldn't be the front of it, but she should be the back of it. She should be the back office of anyone who wanted to seriously do something, right? Seriously do something. Pick up the mantle. Maybe someone like your Lawrence Fox guy. Them sort of people who are actually serious about engaging on the right field. He's engaging on the right field. It's like these guys, they weren't engaging on the right field. He is right now. It's like that kind of thing come up from the ashes of it. Join up with that. It's like Lucy be an absolute asset to that organisation. You know, being London based, knows London savvy, can get around, knows where places are, has transport, knows about cameras, knows about lights, knows about turning up. It's like she's talent, she should be in demand, not as a person in front of a camera giving opinions. She's smart enough, but she's just not been around long enough to have seen the world spin enough in the environment in which she would operate. It's like you don't know what the people up against you are capable of by way of how ruthless they are and what is an eternal struggle you've walked into the centre of. Did you realise you'd fucked with you'd gored the ball and in an eternal struggle? Found out the hard way. Lucy is talent. Lucy should be seen as talent. Her experience, in view of the fact that she has been through some shit, right? I do speak to her on occasion. She's learned a lot from this. There's nothing there's nothing realistically that she doesn't know about what people are capable of, what betrayal people are capable of, the lies people are capable of telling. She is burdened with it's knowledge that's almost, it takes you back. You can know things. I'm like that. I know things that things people are capable of, and it's like, wish I didn't know that. I could have lived my life without knowing that, and maybe I'd have been so lucky as it didn't sweep me away and destroy me. Maybe I could get away with it. Maybe I could fight my way out of it. But no, she's in that. She's in the happy group of people who know what it is to be brainwashed and used and then lied about and character assassinated and discarded. She can literally write the book. Has got the receipts. Of people I deal with on the internet or speak to on the internet, because Lucy's someone I'll probably speak to maybe once or twice a year, who I always enjoy speaking to. She's a great communicator. An honest person. And do you know why I know she's an honest person? Well, time flies. It's like I've known Lucy on and off for about 5 years now. Spoken to her a couple of times a year. Time to time, something of interest pops up and weird things pop up that I'd share with Lucy. I, for a while, used to compare notes with her about rebel medias, other alumni, other people who'd worked for them, and the way that they were. There's something amiss as to where there's something that I established with Lucy Brown many years ago, and that was that it appears that Ezra Levant is an exceptionally poor judge of character. Exceptionally poor. And also not someone who's even worth working for. So he thinks you're something you're not. You disappoint him, you're gone. And that's Ezra Levant's organisation. Like, strange as to how many angles we hit things from, as to where we find Ezra, the fucking star maker in general. It's like, what a fucking liability he is, and what a load of nonsense and dreams he's fed these youngsters to get them to work for him for next to fucking nothing. Make a video for Rebel and he'll fucking toss you £100. It's like, what is that? It's like, that guy's like a Fagin character. He's like a talent pimp looking to tap into what is effectively free and cheap labour. Lucy's someone who's had it put to her that, hey, you're set for life here. You're gonna become, very wealthy. Involved with this organisation of people. We're big. We're the future. They had no reason not to believe that, because the people who might support them, they haven't gone anywhere. Just that the world has passed this force by, and it was proven ineffectual. What proved it ineffectual? COVID. Failed to stop it. Like what? Yes, that's how far off the fucking pace you were. And that's a measure of who you were up against to start with. And it'd be a matter of, you guys just tried to cash in. You had no idea what the world is. You had no idea who you were taking on. No idea who you were messing with. And no idea that you yourselves were the fucking enemy that you faced. Difference between right wing and left wing fanatics who look to get fucking paid, right, is that the right wing ones, they're liars about the values they hold, the positions they hold. They like to, let's pretend to be conservative. Because you know what most people are, so let's pretend to be them, and people relate to us. The guy knows the difference between right and wrong. And then you find out that an organisation or a clique that's then ostensibly leading the charge is an even more despicable construct than what it opposes. So it's like, you've just been subverted. This is like the Pied Piper. And there's some very, very good Pied Piper characters in that movement who've gone strangely silent. Yiannopoulos being the other one. Someone who I've been desperately keen to have words with about his juice for years. As to the games he's capable of playing, vast. And it'd be a matter of, you don't appear to be beyond redemption, sir. As far as I'm concerned. As to it might not be too, that's probably what's happened to Milo Yiannopoulos, actually. It's like this lady, Lauren Southern, has got the goods on Milo, as to where Milo is a control freak narcissist who must have his own way and will destroy anyone who crosses him. No wonder he never replied to me when I've in the past said, I'd like a word with you, sir. I'm interested in pretty much interested in what you're playing at. But let's watch this long video about this incident. I say I'll put this on because I'll put it to you. It's like, yeah, I know Lucy. I'll put it to you, I know her. And it's like, how can you be sure you know her? It's like, well, the person I first spoke to and the person who I last spoke to a couple of weeks ago, who I exchanged the old text with, she's kept her story straight. She has tried to do the right thing at the same time as tried to be loyal to people who don't deserve any loyalty for the sake of the movement. And it'd be a matter of, in this twisted culture war, she's actually one of the nearest we have to a war hero, in that she took one for the team, for the movement. And it'd be a no, you can't say what you know. You can't say, hey, hang on a minute, this is not what it appears to be. These people are fucking crooks. No, for the sake of damaging the movement, she also was silenced. It's like, this is a pimp game. I had been saying so much at the time. I just didn't know who the players were. And it's a matter of, I was narrowing my thinking. Why was I narrowing my thinking? Well, if I was to say what I really thought about Tommy Robinson, I myself might find myself in some kind of bind with people who might threaten me because they think they can on behalf of. So which mob would you rather have pursuing you? The trans activists or the unashamedly racist right-wing mob that associates itself with Tommy Robinson? I'd take the trannies on any time. At least you can make them cry. Them hate monsters can know enough to be dangerous as to where it's been said, I've heard it said, that Lucy is a spy working for MI5 to bring down the alt-right. And the people who say this, why would you want to make any effort to bring them down? They're ineffectual jackasses who actually help the opposition maintain their illusion of control. Like, it doesn't even work. It's like, Lucy's guilty of being beautiful, right? And having a very, very forthcoming way about you. If you don't know, right, or you're not used to nice female attention, you might, right, get the notion that she kind of fancies you. And it'd be a matter of, she's just one of them people who's generally nice. And just blokes just fall in love with her. She's been putting up with it for years. One of the first things I ever asked her when I got talking to her was, at what age were men throwing themselves at you? How old were you when you first got an I love you letter posted through your door? It's like, blokes have been falling themselves, making fool of themselves over her since she was about 13. And you know, part of her personality is that is a thing. It's like she's over it, right? She's over it. Yeah, pretty girl, yeah, over it. Now, that's in a strange way. That comes across as a very attractive. It makes guys think that they might have a chance when you got no chance. She can go and pick and choose who she likes. You got no chance, but the fact you got no chance doesn't mean that she can't be your friend, and she wouldn't be a good friend to have. She wouldn't be someone who brings something, someone who's smart enough, knows enough to care. So it's like she has this pattern in life of men going crazy on her. she can pick up the bat and start to. She could pick up the bat and start to talk to the feminists, right? And completely revolutionise their rhetoric. What? It's like, yeah, she knows something about blokes. More than they profess to do. It's like she knows about blokes, Lucy. It's like to that cause and movement, if they were actually, because they're a revolutionary movement, they're not interested in healing, right? That's the thing with feminism. They're not interested in getting smart at healing. They're a revolutionary movement. So they don't want to learn. But if they ever did, right? When you talk about proper good feminist representation, Lucy in that sphere of discourse would be formidable up against other women, I reckon. But that not be the person who was working for Rebel Media and worked for Tommy Robinson. That be the person she is now, in view of the experiences she's had, as to where all nature of things have come unstuck for her. But the great calamity of her is, yeah, people tend to fall in love with her. The type of people who tend to fall in love with her, right, are people who idealise, right? So that's a trait in men you find a lot. In codependent men who fixate and idealise like women do. And it's like, she's a vision of fucking, Athena and Aphrodite, this one. It's like she's an open atom girl. There's very few men who weren't secure in themselves, right, who wouldn't fall in with Lucy. She's like almost everyone's type, right? So it's a matter of, that would give her, theoretically, every advantage in the world, but it is actually a double-edged sword that, in her case, has been a magnet for disappointment, as to she didn't ask, right, to be really charming, really pretty. She didn't ask for that. It could be seen as an asset, but also be seen by others as something they'd covet, and want, and need. So yeah, she has stalker problems because guys make an idealised imaginary friend of her, and it's like, that's an hard life. It's like, what a peculiar situation to find yourself in. Solution for that for Lucy would have been if she'd have got married when she was like 20 to someone who was mature, who she could, learn with, grow with. But I don't know about this period of her life. No one asked about it, but I would suggest that the person she was would say, I'm not ready for that. So it's been on she's gone out into the world and learned a little bit too much, maybe. But yeah, charming person, helpful, friendly. If you wanted to plan something or plot something, a scheme to do something, and I mean like in a commercial sense, in a marketing sense, in an event sense, it's like, her CV says that she organised an internationally supported event. Like, wow. And it's like, and that's not the first thing you've made work, is it? Like, no. So as far as your movement goes, right, you're ineffectual, right? You've sidelined your own talent. This is like stopping Mel Gibson making movies. You've sidelined your best talent. Now this is going to be a long video because we're going to listen to this section, right? So if you want to, this is a really interesting video to listen to. Not put it this way, it's like who knows who's telling the truth, but I tell you what, you can learn something when you find out that everyone's lying. It's not about who you believe. It's that no one's telling the truth potentially. There's no truth here.
Look for the girl with the sun in her eyes and she's gone. The sea in the sky with diamonds. The sea in the sky.
Wait, get up front.
Down to the bridge by the fountain, and broken horse people.
Lucy.
Right. That's the video that I saw that has put it to me that it's like, you need to make a video and talk about this topic and go through it if you want. If I've been thinking about it while I was having an eye test earlier, and it's that short video that compelled me to actually do this. So I sent Lucy a text and I'm like, I'm going to talk about what Lawrence said about you, right? And I'm like, and I'm going to address this. And I mentioned it to her because I put it to her like, are you fucking kidding me? You took a beating for Tommy Robinson more than once just by being in his company. And he threw you under the bus like he did. You'd actually stood with him and fought dickheads, or fought them off, and took some digs, and it's like, no one needs that, right? You knew you were in dangerous company, but it's a matter of, you don't sign up for that, right? And it's like, you stood with him like a proper bird, didn't scream and shout, and actually, you know. First of all, it's like these guys who've turned up, it's like shit ninjas. They're all dressed in black, but they can't actually fight. That's the thing, you know. It's like the sort of people who put balaclavas on and turn up in a gang can't actually fight. Saying it seems like a thing. You see that kick that guy for them?
Because it once basically making Tom crazy how much the three of these people did.
You're wearing real fur.
Fucked up here, haven't I?
Censor his view.
If you were around in that time.
Yeah, I fucked up here. I shouldn't have got carried away looking at this fighting video. Well, I'm sorry, just while we're here, because I'm not going to be able to let it go, right? See, you can get hurt right there. You can get hurt. That's like, oh, someone's got you to the ground. You can get hurt there, right? That's serious business. That's, oh, fucking hell, we're in a fight here, aren't we?
Wait, get up front.
But this kicking shit. this guy here with his kick.
In this political moment.
I'm sorry, it's like... So the sort of people who do that, masks, turn up. We've just seen so-and-so, hey, let's all get blacked up and go down and kick their heads in. And you get there and Tommy Robinson is a fucking midget of 5'4", and it's a matter of kids. It's like there's a scale issue with the size of these people. So it's like these are like teenagers who've turned up. Watching this, I'm like, for real, they actually, and it's, I forget we're being just ginormous, right? I forget sometimes that not everyone's got that privilege. That's something I get, I understand. You know, this thing of privilege, right? That's a thing, and you only recognise that when you find yourself in that kind of position where you're getting preyed upon by fucking strangers. Because, see, the fighting violence, you'd be thinking, no, the after effects of that kind of psychological attack, they'd give you PTSD. It's like, what a fucking surprise that was. You probably feel elated after it, like, fucking hell. Especially if you won. But it's like, she finds herself having these shared traumatic experiences with Tommy Robinson, where fucking, regardless of them being kids and fucking lunatics and not being able to fight properly, they've fucking turned up. They could have had knives. They're dickheads. They turned up to go and beat on a stranger because he's in the part of the world neighbourhood. It's like, these guys are dicks. And it's like, so you, for your association in working for this guy, not sharing his beliefs, working with him, being associated with him, the price you pay for that is from time to time, idiots descend upon you to give you a beating. And it's perfectly fine for Lucy to get punched, right? Because she's in the company of an evil man, an evilman. But that's not what I'm looking at. How do you throw someone under the bus who's been through that with you? Who stood for that and turned up the next day for work, didn't quit, continued, went to work and got battered, right? And then turned up the next day, and then turned up the next day, and then turned up the next day. It's like, to have sacked her for what you sacked her for, I mark that down as practically a crime against humanity, like a sickness of the soul issue, as to where God fucking help you being forgiven for that. That's, as far as I'm concerned, you get marked down as cunt. You throw someone under the bus who went to arms with you, like a comrade. Your friendship, your business thing, and your activism together, and your idealism and your movement, right? They've all met in a place as to where Luce finds herself on a battlefield. And you jettison her because she did as she was told, and you changed your mind, lost your bottle, couldn't be seen to have done, so you blamed her and fired her and blackened her name. Betrayal, it's a fucking amazing thing. It's like one of the chief weapons. It's like, if you want to change someone, change the direction of someone's life, for the better or even for the worse, betray them. He'll change them. Might even do them the power of good, because they'll be out of your company.
Lucy Brown. Lucy Brown was another support staff for Tommy. So there were like 3 people that were basically making Tommy's career possible. And you'll notice that you probably don't see much of Tommy Robinson on your feed anymore. And you can jump up and down and blame censorship. But the reality is, a lot of people need their support staff to be successful. And when you burn them, hard to keep going.
And the people were thanking me. I had loads of people coming up saying thank you for the date. I didn't do anything. That's the truth. They done it all.
So it was Lucy Brown, Kaylin, and George. They were running the websites, they were doing all the editing, they were doing all the graphics, they were organizing all the events, they were pulling Tommy and whoever else out of bars, half drunk.
She's been seek-heiling her way around Birmingham. And somehow she thinks it's all sort of cute.
To get them to bed, to sleep, and then driving them places in the morning. It was crazy how much the 3 of these people did.
You're wearing real fur?
I think that's fucking
That
outrageous.
is disgusting.
How was that steak you ate yesterday?
Yeah, but JFK was murdered.
Steak? You're not comparing a steak to fur?
I'm wearing it, you're eating it.
Lucy, this is a boardroom. What do you think you're doing? What is this? This presentation. Lucy!
That's not a fact.
But Lucy was one of the main point persons for organizing Day for Freedom.
Today has been called.
On the way down to that, I was in my mother's car with Dan Bostock, and I says, this movement is gonna collapse because it's got too many bad actors operating in it, and it's only a matter of time before it gets exposed as being like a money spinner or a fraud. We'll find out someone stole all the money and what I said was going to happen, yeah, it happened on that day.
The Day for Freedom. These people feel like they are losing their voice in society. However, is that really the case when they're amongst some of the most famous, followed and talked about activists in the country? The event was organised by former EDL leader Tommy Robinson.
This was a well-run, and apart from that where they had them transsexual miming guys on, I didn't understand why they were there, but that was supposedly something to do with the free speech theme of that was foisted upon it. It's like it's like, you know, there's you know, they talk about the Nazis, the National Socialists, right? You can look at that and say Nazis terrible, and it's another nationalist socialist party as opposed to a global one. And someone say, no, they're not socialists. No. You'll get, there's another objection that's actually quite good, is to say, no, it's like the Nazis just wanted power. So they just named themselves after everyone. Nationalist, socialist, and workers. And just named themselves that. It's like there's nothing to do with socialism about it. So it's more a matter of they wanted power. They thought they should be in control. They had different ideas, and they thought that other people who weren't like them were weak. So when they conceived the idea of a political party, it's like, well, we want to be something new. So we'll just incorporate the names of everyone else's movements. So it will be the Nationalist Socialist Working Party. Because that appeals to all sides. So we have the Day for Freedom. But it's actually, ostensibly, because of the crowd and because of who's organised it and who's whipped it up, of people who would turn up on the day, right? These are football dickheads, mostly. Sorry. Yes. 50-50 between football dickheads, rah-rah, we're out for the day. Old 70s rebellion. And half people who, you know, are concerned about just the generalised issue, because it's as soon as you have a protest movement, right? You are expedient to make it, if you do something like this, make it as big a tent as possible. So the tent they went for was free speech, which these guys have got no interest in whatsoever because of how they silence each other and how they set their minions on people. So it's like they've got no interest in free speech whatsoever for anyone except themselves, which you can understand. Maybe it might be a bit hypocritical, but you can understand it. So we call it the Day for Freedom. It means nothing. And it's like Newspeak. So I'm like, oh, this is for a laugh. Who came up with that? It's like it's like you've put on a very, very leftist event, calling it like Day for Freedom. It was a nice day. Nothing went wrong with what appeared on the stage or happened in the audience until they changed their mind and said that Ali Dai guy was allowed to speak, and then he wasn't. And then it's like somehow a contrivance, a magic itself, where he was then seen as a kind of gate crasher. That he'd come to break up this event. And that wasn't true, he was invited. And it's like, that what kicked off, that doesn't happen out of nothing. And I say, I was there, I saw this, I'm like, shenanigans all over it. Just check it. It's like, Tommy Robinson's, he's not a conservative. And he cares nothing for free speech. If Tommy Robinson cared for free speech, I mean, he might have to listen to people, and he don't want to do that. Jesus.
Who thinks that the government, the media and social media companies are trying to censor his views. Censor his views. Is that really the case when they're amongst some of the most famous, followed and talked about activists in the country? The event was organised by former EDL leader Tommy Robinson, who thinks that the government, the media...
Right. Sargon is like 5'6". There's Tommy, he's a midget, and look at Sargon next to him. Sorry, I have this thing about midgets, small people. No, it's fun. Personally, it's like I'm a physical sort of endeavour guy. I'm a former sportsman and the like, and it's just a matter of. And as well as that, I've always had it in me to wear people up. I come from a culture where beatings used to be a thing, and fighting used to be a thing as well. In the time I was raised, so it's a matter of. I tend to size people up. I size people up like people would say, like measuring in the coffin. But yeah, I size people up. I can't not do it. And I don't deny that I size people up. I'm like, So it's like, I have to clock when it's like, he's a small guy. You're like, why? It's like, he understands that there's certain hierarchies. He might not acknowledge it, but there is. As to big guy, actually is an influence. Big guy can Big guy can subtly bend you to his will. I'd take that for absolute granted, taking it for granted my entire life as to where I could make a request and not get what I want and then say, oh really? And take it up a level on them, and it's a matter of, oh, you're going to throw 20 stone at us? Okay, have what you want. People call it bullying, but it's subtle. It can be subtle, extremely subtle, and it become like passive aggressive behaviour. And people put it to me when the notion of passive aggressive came along. They put it to me like, I'm like, oh, passive aggressive? So no, I'm just aggressive. Passive aggressive? It's like, when did I ever hide the fact that it's a matter of, excuse me? But it's like, I'm like that, but I'm fair about it. I'm like, if it's unseemly for me to give it the excuse, it's never going to happen. If it's just not from nowhere, it's a matter of, yeah, no, it's reactive. It's like I have still got all those instincts. I suppressed them to have to kind of work in offices for a living. I had to try and suppress my reactions to things. That's not an easy thing to do, to suppress reactions to stimuli. But I kind of learned how to do it and buried them. But over the years, it's just come back to the surface as to say that instinct was never your enemy. It was always your friend. It was trying to warn you. So I look at these guys and I look at the socio-economics of the world that I came from, and it'd be a matter of, these cunts wouldn't say boo to a goose. What? Yeah, it's like in a real setting that was the kind of place where I'd find myself in a discourse, like a pub. They can't deal with that. They can't deal with the guy in the corner who's like a monster turning around and saying, I don't like the way you're talking. And it's like, look at Tommy Robinson with him being like a midget. It's like, most folk just to look at him would fancy they could take him. What? It's like, yeah, you'd fancy chances. So it's like, he must be surrounded with bodyguards and shit. But they won't be proper bodyguards. They won't be like professional bodyguards. They'll be like mates of his. So they'll be, muscle dummies. Oh, muscle dummies. Private security. It's like, what moves people to protect this guy is what it's like he's one of the people who's beyond criticism. To a guy like Sargon, I wonder if Tommy Robinson's successfully intimidated Sargon or traumatised him in the way that he's never been critical of anything that he's done. Or is he afraid of what he might say back about him? Because it's like this video has got holes in it by way of the things that aren't said and the people who aren't mentioned in it. As to where this story crosses a lot of paths that Lawrence Southern tells. But the one that's the most damning story she tells is the one about this fella. And it's like, who fucking found this guy when no one was willing to run with him? Tommy Robinson. He was a toxic brand who'd take any attention he could get. And then suddenly, star maker Ezra Levant decides that he's going to be a reporter for Rebel Media. Might Ezra Levant, right, done well to have had maybe a word with just about anyone as to say, who is this guy? He's just seen him in a video and believed he's discovered him or something, like some kind of fucking movie mogul. This guy's got to be in my movie. And it's like, do you know what baggage this guy brings with him and the sort of people who he enabled to come together? It's like, these are not friendly characters. These are people who, if you give them anything like an excuse, they will turn up because they like to fight. They enjoy it. It's like football, but better. It's like they turn up for the football, open their fight breaks out. So it's like you get people who are geared up like that. There's people I've worked with in the past who've been football hooligans, right? And these are guys who, when they get drunk, like to fight. And they have found an outlet as to where they can do it. And it's meeting up with crews. These are the circles in which Tommy Robinson came from, and these people are the core of his movement right from the start when they were the EDL. It's like the cops were always looking at these guys, right? And this is a thing that I know and that older people know that younger people don't. And Tommy Robinson, it's a joke. It's actually, if memory serves, it's derived from Tom Robinson, 2468 song. So if you're like arrested by the police and the copper asks you your name, you tell the policeman you're called Tommy Robinson. It's like a joke alias. So if you go to a copper and say, okay, son, what's your name? And you say Tommy Robinson, he'll just nick you because you're just being a dick. I'm not. You're deliberately lying to the copper so not to tell him your name, and you're doing it so in a brazen way that you're identifying yourself as Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is a spectre, a lot like White Van Man is to bad driving. Tommy Robinson is that to random acts of violence in football stadiums. So it's like how you've dressed up this pig to somehow be a almost human rights sort of anti Islam, and also kids, protecting the kids. How they've managed to reform him into that is, it's just disgusting that it's been allowed to happen. So all of a sudden Rochdale Council does a limited hangout, which led to the Rotherham, does a limited hangout when suddenly, from nowhere, the council starts to pay attention to the girls who come to their clinics, which they run, where girls, without the parents' knowledge, can turn up and get the pill, condoms, from like the age of 12 and 13. So like sex, like women's safe clinic, and it's like, the women who work there, their attitude to sex is, oh, it's brilliant, best thing you can be doing. Yeah, I love it. Ooh, yeah. Right? So they're like old pervs, but they think of themselves as enlightened. These little girls come in and they're getting the pill and they're getting condoms and they're getting sex education from the council. And there's no problem with it. And it's always been that way. Oh, and that's how we operate around here. And then suddenly, the names coming back from the girls start coming back Pakistani. And then suddenly we've got a problem. Excuse me? It's like when Trevor and Paul and Mark and David and Brian and Peter were screwing these girls, you didn't fucking care. You were calling it something else. But as soon as those names changed to Pakistani ones, suddenly you became interested. And then they've tried to hush that, saying, oh, this is toxic. And then when it's got out, they've helped weaponize it. What? Yeah. It's like Tommy Robinson is running a narrative that was sold by Rochdale Council. Rochdale Council are not stupid. They needed a smokescreen because there was too much attention on certain members of the local Labour Party at the time who are now dead, and revelations about widespread child sexual abuse in Rochdale's children's homes and care systems. While all that was going on, all the attention was deflected away onto Muslim rape gangs or grooming gangs, and it'd be a matter of that's only a very, very, very small a very, very small piece of the picture in so many different ways. It's like this place is corrupt, right? Corrupt. And it's like, do you think it is only in that way corrupt? You think without that there isn't another 1,000 ills? I think that those stories out of my town were like 6 stories, right? Out of what could be potentially 60,000 stories of people who are alive in this town. Everything that's happened to them. When they were able to carve it out to that and turn it into, I tell you what, Tommy, I'll leave. I'll shut up and I'll let this run. But a conversation I had with the stranger in the pub as to where he asked a few questions of me, and he was, "Oh, you're one of them, are you?" And then he put it to me like, "Oh, you like that? You'll follow that Tommy Robinson, do you?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I know of him. It's like he's on my radar. It's just because you have to pay attention when he is. Why? Because so many fucking dickheads might thump you for him. You know, it's not so long ago, maybe 5 years ago, a Crossman, right? The way he tells it, he got stabbed, right? Stabbed. And it was because he was disrespectful of David Icke. Someone stabbed him. Like what? Someone stabbed him for slagging off David Icke. So it's like we live in a dangerous world to some degree, where it comes to figures that attract revolutionary or very angry elements. If Lucy Brown lived in north of England, someone had killed her. Because she was seen to have betrayed Tommy. Someone would have killed her if she lived up north. She lived up north and she had nowhere else to run. Someone would have killed her. Luckily for her, she's like down south and has got people and isn't without resources, so can. If she was from Oldham or Bury or Bolton, someone would have killed her for being seen to have betrayed the movement and Tommy. It's like this fucking guy, whether he knows it or not, has inadvertently made life worse in the places that he claims to fight on the behalf of, talking about this grooming gangs, Asians. You've made it worse places for them. You've made it worse places for the indigenous population, and you've made it worse for these girls. Because it's not what you think it is. It's something far more ingrained, far more deep, widespread, and something that's been around for a long time. And you're going to find it wherever you look. And there needs to be a wider conversation about the phenomenon of the generation of people we've brought through who are in that way vulnerable, and it'd be a lot to do with the internet and the social media platforms, rapid onset, and what it must be to have been indoctrinated as a child in a world where people are telepathic because we can send each other instant messages across the internet. So it's like you've got yourself a whole new creature that's now reached adulthood, that's like vulnerable, dangerous, but also exceptionally vulnerable and susceptible to suggestion. And what have you done, Tommy? You've set them either with you or against you and at each other, as to your name is a campaigning slogan for the fucking Labour Party. Well done. You've made matters much, much worse. And why is that? Because you shouldn't have been given a platform, because Ezra Levant is a reckless fucking maniac, narcissist, fantasist, who's probably more a threat or done more harm to conservatives and conservative movements in Canada than fucking Justin Trudeau ever has. Because I tell you what, he has found a way of, what's the word? Almost cornering the market for talent for affairs. Just having a window to have access to all the talent just for a short while. And while he were in that window, look who he fucking picked. What a mixed bag, what a scattergun approach he had to hiring people and giving them money so they could be freelance, whatever this is. It's like this thing, Lauren Southern, if she's got really anything about her, right, I'm going to say, that's a terrible way of putting it. She should start her own, like Tim Pool's done his own thing, right? But start your own crew of what's left as to who stood the test of fucking time. Start your own crew and know enough between you of the pitfalls of the fucking drama to lose the drama and take the matter at hand as seriously as you've had to take the drama. Might seem like a weird way of putting it, but it'd be a matter of the energy wasted, the money wasted, the time wasted with this whole ineffectual but meaningful movement hijacked by this guy and his friends around him. And what are they? Midgets.
Yeah, and social media companies are trying to censor his views.
Never ever complain about working with midgets. Why? Well, if push comes to shove, you just throw a cunt out a window, can't you?
A lot of you will remember this if you were around in that time. Huge event in London. Milo spoke there, Gavin spoke there, I spoke there on a billboard right after my ban. And one of the angles that Tommy and Lucy and everyone thought would be fun to take was, this isn't just like a free speech event for right-wingers. We support free speech in general for everyone. We're going to have a, drag queen come and sing there. We're going to have a Muslim speaker come there. Obviously, Tommy's whole approach to things was criticizing Islam. So the idea that he would do a free speech event and have a Muslim there would be massive. Like, really show a commitment to free speech.
Yeah, right. There's a point to be made here because I was there. Yeah. If it had gone ahead as it was supposed to, letting that guy speak, that would have been a fucking profoundly brilliant event. it was like, this will be all right. It's like if this guy can communicate with this crowd and just for one moment agree on something with them, he'd show them something new. So I'm waiting for a miracle to happen when this guy, who he should be able to reach out to any crowd of humans on a fundamental level if he really is interested in the process of reconciliation and peace and living in the same country and working together through the active, exchange of ideas, right? It would have fucking worked, right? It'd have been a brilliant idea. It was high-minded. It was noble, and it would have been in the crowd they had. It'd have been based on the spirit of what the day had been, right? For that crowd to have turned on that guy would have been in terrible bad form. It just couldn't have happened. The atmosphere wasn't set up for him to be anything but receptive to that guy if he wanted to be respectful, right? And thugs and cowards derailed it. Santa's little helpers, they got in the way of it. They fucking threw the muscle about, fucking bullied Tommy the midget. He lost his bottle but couldn't be seen to have done so. And we had fucking idiots fucking scuffling. Cops engaged. It was fucking, it turned what could have been something that mattered, that would have been memorable, that it would have been, hey, I tell you what, this could be the day that we sort something out. And it wasn't. Instead, it was the day it all fell to pieces because someone's a fucking coward. It was like, I'd never for running across just random people, because I was with Dan and people were like, oh, because they recognise him, so they're familiar with him. I'm just like, and I'm putting it to him, talking to him like, just beware of how people find you familiar. It might come across to you as funny because you're not used to people coming up to you and saying, hey man, I'm going to take a picture with you. Like, right, it's like, you know what it is to think you know someone, because me and him, it's like we've only like met in the flesh, I mean once, maybe twice, but we've spoken on many occasions over the years. So I'm meeting up with him, and it's like, so he's next to me, and it's a matter of, oh fuck me, it's like, oh, so I've got backup here. Like, yeah, it's like I turn up and it's like, yeah, I'm like a big hard fucker. Oh, okay, right. It's like, yeah, I'm rough as spanners and look like I've been in the odd scuffle myself. And it'd be a matter of, all right, okay, so I've got backup. And I put it to him, talking to him on the way down. It's like, people are going to come up to you today down. They're going to be like over familiar, and he's not come across that before. And he was treated like a celebrity on the day in that crowd, Bostock. And so, having had a word, discussed it on the way down as how to treat it with gratitude, and be like, wow, you recognise it as what it is, because it's like, you know what it is to think you know someone, like a celebrity, and it's like, you should greet it in the spirit it's meant, because it's a matter of good feeling. It's like, you have a sense of gratitude and don't get ahead of yourself. It's like, people think they know you, so they're going to be over familiar with you. And it's like, what a day you had with people coming up and, do I know you from somewhere? I'd be like, oh, shake hands with him. So what a day that was. It's like he was like, in some ways, it was like they wanted him to go, because he'd been around and everyone knows about his songs he'd done and stuff like that. So it's like we were getting updates as to when the thing was starting and where we were supposed to be, and he was just, oh yeah, Lucy's just put out, and she was following her for the event. on the social media. So I'm driving and he's looking on his social. Yeah, right, okay. But it's got crazy elements. They're not right-wing elements, they're crazy elements. There's crazy elements in that movement, in that crowd. And it's like the crazy elements. Tommy Robinson hasn't got the guts or the wherewithal or the influence or even the sense to have this first idea about how to control them. And he's like, in some ways, he's like a shit Muad'Dib, and his followers are the Fremen. They're here for the jihad. And when push comes to shove, he can't stand against them. So when they stood against him, he caved. And what was the repercussion? Let's listen on.
It's 8:30 and we needed somewhere to film in Manchester. And we were meeting Janaea and Red Pill Phil for our promo video. So I contacted my mate Mark. And we've invaded, and we've drunk all his dad's beer. We've just finished. We left at 6 this morning. We're about to go head back down to Luton now. We've got a busy day tomorrow, but this promo, it will be worth it. It's about showing how many people this is affecting, all the different communities and everyone that's affected. So yeah, peace and big gear out.
Tommy actually did a public announcement saying we're going to have Ali Dawah, one of Tommy's arch nemesis, come and speak on stage. He did this announcement on Facebook. And he told Lucy, invite Ali Dawah, make a poster for him, bring him to the event.
Will Ali Dawah be speaking?
Yes, Ali Dawah will be speaking. He's our surprise Idiot of the Day guest.
But as soon as Tommy posted that Facebook video, he got incensed reactions from his audience. A lot of football lads, a lot of people that felt Tommy was betraying his criticisms of Islam, betraying his ideals by inviting this guy. And within less than an hour, Tommy deleted this Facebook video. Just pretended he never uploaded it. Gone, right? Deleted all of the posts he made about Ali Dawah coming.
You know, there's people in the world, I know some of them, right? And they scare me, right? Because I know how dangerous they are. Like, dangerous, like, oh, here we go again. You've decided you're going to start bullying and threatening the old violence, are you? Oh, you're bored now, are you? So you're going to start trying to pick on people and provoke them. And I know people like that, right? They need to put people like that in, like, mental hospitals. Or they need to, like, medicate them so they don't get bored, right? And they have to make sure that the regimen of pills is taken, and also to try somehow to keep them away from the drink, right? It was that dangerous. And it'd be a matter of, if he's off his meds, right, he'll start picking on people, and if he gets a chance to, start beating on them and end up fighting and terrorise people. And it'd be, oh well, you read about it and it's, well, he's off his meds, right? It's like, there are people as dangerous as that. There are people as dangerous as that. And it's like, there's those people, it's like they find each other and they find places and excuses to get it out of their system. And the football has long since been one of these refuges. So when he's like, she's like, the football lads. So these are fucking idiots who you don't want to have anything to do with. They're dangerous people. And it's like, you get there and it's like the core of this fucking idiot blob that's, you know, they're like, well, yeah, come on, whoa, we're in. They love it. They're into it. They recreate battles almost, these guys, in their imaginations, and sort of turn up and play it out like fucking loonies, and they enjoy that. So they turn up when there's an excuse for that. Football Lads Alliance. What would the Football Lads Alliance normally be doing at the weekend? Being thugs at football matches. Oh, we love those, don't we? Yeah, we do, don't we? It's like, he's Muad'Dib, isn't he? Tommy Robinson is Muad'Dib. Stephen Yaxley at Lennon, what's Tommy Robinson, is a kind of myth or legend like White Van Man. I take responsibility for every piece of white man bad driving that took place in the UK between the years of 2007 and about 2011. I was all of them. Can't prove it, but who's to say I wasn't?
Got rid of them all. The event comes the next day. Ali Dawa shows up for his scheduled speaking time. I think Count Dankula even posted a photo of the speakers list where it showed Ali Dawa's speaking slot.
Oh God, they've actually got Ali Dawa. It's happening, it's happening. This is fantastic.
Tommy's, it's hard to talk about because obviously this is, I believe there are so many legitimate concerns about Islam. I think there are so many people in the UK that are conservative, that truly, deserve a voice. But there were some bad acts.
And Muslims are conservatives too, don't you know? By and large. And they get non-conservative governments foisted upon them because of fear of the right wing. If you would, no, conservatives will get on perfectly well with conservative Pakistanis. I had my eyes tested by a very conservative Pakistani optician today, who was a nice fellow, very helpful, answered all my questions, and it turns out his wife's a doctor. So, oh my God. Oh my God. It says, don't you think that they might have a concern being straight, respectable professionals, not savages? I think their biggest concern probably at this moment in time is the price of how the fuel bills are eating into their disposable income. I think that's what they're more concerned about right now. I don't think they're plotting any kind of like jihadness, or maybe have got the home set up as some kind of emergency hospital for wounded fucking terrorists.
Actors there that were Tommy supporters, that when Ali Dawa and Mohammed Hajib, I think was his friend, when they showed up to give their speech, they got beat up. They got beat up and dragged out of the Day for Freedom event.
And you know what? This was fucking nasty. This was ugly. Like, yeah, fucking hatred in the face, this shit, when it kicked off. It was horrible. There was nothing random about it. It ended up. I think he might show it here. It might show it.
Now, did Lucy say you could come?
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, these obtuse cunts who all filled in this gap here. I'd have been like up the pavement up here. These obtuse cunts. It was all going down, all going on around there. I'm like, what's this? Suddenly they've had the rug. These guys who've turned up in good faith to this guy to go up and to talk at this event, which to press has been a great event. And then dicks like this emerge, and suddenly the rug's been pulled under these guys, and there's a fight. And apparently that's Lucy. And these two guys with the stitch. Cowan. Adding, piss to the shit, doubling down like all of them turning and blaming someone because hey, they can't go up. These media guys are fucking little kids, like fucking 5'5" little fucking skinny kids. They look like normal sized people, right? I said normal size of me, right? They look like normal sized people, and then come face to face with these fucking bullies. All of a sudden, you've got on the day, these dicks have suddenly taken control.
I'm struggling.
Hey. What are you struggling with? The weather or?
Yes, the weather.
What are you struggling with?
I can't say. And my lips are sealed, ironically.
Get the camera out of his face.
I was invited today. No, you didn't. Back off! Because I want to speak about freedom of speech. There you go.
Do you let us speak?
Yes.
No, you don't. When did you ever stand up for us to have our say? You really don't.
Come on,
Jesus Christ, our Saviour.
He's pissed. They're all fucking pissed. Fucking knobheads. Just because all of a sudden it's like, oh, here we go. It's like, what were this about? And it's a matter of someone lost the bottle face up against, oh, you fucking what? You fucking lost the bottle, and then an act of cowardice undoes the whole fucking event. And someone has to be blamed for it. It's like, these people ain't shit. We've wasted time, and it's like these fucking idiots. They've acted as gatekeepers. They've not created any links between grassroots people, right, and the wider YouTube audience. They're not listening. Their audience is not a concern to them. They haven't got time to engage. They don't give a fuck. It's like, it's a funny old thing with these internet. He's an exception because Tommy Robinson he gets a lot of attention. It's like, but you have your internet sort of known people in this sphere. You talk to people who are active in grassroots politics, and they ain't heard of any of them. No, I don't know who he is. They'd be diligently, actively going up against corruption and trying to expose fucking lies in their own towns, and they won't be aware of these guys who are so-called leaders, and it's because these guys who are so-called leaders have never networked, as if they were going to ever be a cohesive resistance or movement. They just looked as far as they could get paid. So there's no infrastructure beneath them because they refuse to build any. Why? Because they're dumb as fuck. They get replaced and they're midgets. What, John? I'm like, yeah. But it's like, but the forces that they ostensibly, let's say, represent, when they arrive in the flesh, have got this kind of bullying, dangerous sort of edge to them that these internet hucksters haven't got any ability to control or turn off. So it turns up, it gets pissed, and it starts acting the fucking goal. It's like, who do you fucking think you are marshalling these kind of forces? And then pulling a stunt like this. It's like there were a lot of fucking cops there, and it's like you could, in the end, it's like, yeah, it's a good job all them fucking cops turned up, isn't it?
The free speech event that's supposed to be for conservatives, you know, supporting the free marketplace of ideas. Meanwhile, all of us make fun of Antifa for needing to resort to violence. That event resulted in right-wingers beating up Muslims for wanting to speak freely. Everyone becomes a hypocrite, hey? But that actually wasn't that was a terrible, terrible part of that event. Horrible part of that event. But that actually wasn't one of the worst things that happened. After Ali Dawa got beat up and dragged out of the event, a lot of people publicly wanted an explanation. Why did Ali Dawa show up, Tommy? Why did he think he was going to get this free area to speak his horrendous ideas in front of a crowd? And Tommy publicly said,
I'd be happy if my right to freedom of speech, where I was invited today, would happen today. If it doesn't, you know what that means?
You're on the menu. Clearly said Ali Dawa was not invited to speak. 3 posts saying he's categorically not invited to speak. Now, those posts were removed from my Facebook. I didn't remove them. An admin removed them. Why? I don't know. But they were removed.
Just completely lied. Completely lied. I don't even dislike Tommy. I just dislike the fact that he did this stuff.
And this is where I absolutely have to call out Tommy Robinson for posting completely fake news to his Facebook profile. In a video Tommy Robinson posted the other day, it says in the beginning, Mohammed Hijab assaults police. The description of the video says, Muslim MMA fighter turns up to provoke trouble at the Day of Freedom, and his film crew live stream him hitting a police officer. Hashtag own goal. That is completely disingenuous.
He came out and publicly said, I would never invite Ali Dawa. Never in a million years. I would never invite that moron to come speak at my event.
Lucy, you're lying, Lucy. Stop.
What do you mean I'm lying?
You said to me to delete the tweet because you wanted to introduce him.
Go on, off you go, you fucking coward.
In fact, not only did I not invite him, he was secretly invited behind my back by Lucy Brown, who is this horrible left-wing Antifa spy that is trying to destroy our movement. Oh, where have we heard this story before, am I right? And he pinned all the blame for this on Lucy. Said she did it behind his back, was secretly working against him. Oh.
It makes you question how long herself or others have been conspiring or working together. We'll soon see anyway, won't we? But yeah, I should have took the warnings. Everyone tried to warn me. Everyone warned me.
And what came of this was just horrendous. Lucy randomly just started seeing all of these tweets all over her timeline, all over Facebook, saying she was a disgusting whore, a snake, that she had betrayed the movement, how dare she, and just started panicking. I've talked to her about this 1,000 times, but it wasn't until 3 days later that she found out that Tommy had also fired her from her job. She'd given up everything. She was quite a successful photographer. She had really good opportunities. She was a young, beautiful girl with a whole future ahead of her, and she had thrown it all away to work for Tommy because she believed in what he was doing, just to be fired out of nowhere so that Tommy could keep up public appearances. That, of course, I didn't invite Ali Dawa. Lucy was a secret snake that did all of this. And he obviously, to back that up, he couldn't just keep her employed. That would look crazy. People would be like, why are you still employing this woman who's a snake who went behind your back? So he fired her. He fired her to keep up the public.
You know, this is a thing that bugs me. I'm not alien to like the world of like business, and I've seen all kinds of weird decisions made by businesses to fire people, to blame them and fire them. And if you're going to blame someone and fire them, you should fucking pay them. If you're going to make Lucy take the blame for that, I'm pretty sure, you know, if you'd have offered her 100 grand to take the blame, she might have just took the blame. I'm just saying. It's like there's a right way of throwing someone under a bus. There is. It's like you might say, look, that's a bit of a tacky thing to say, Janice. Well, there is. It's like I've worked for firms where they'll put the company's failing, so they'll appoint another level of manager. They'll put in another layer of management above your management. So you've got a manager, and then you end up with a general manager, and he oversees the operation, and then he stays there for a year, right, on a good salary. And then at the end of the year, when he fails, they blame him and fire him, so they could be seen to have been doing something. And these guys used to turn up for these jobs to be fired. What do you do? Oh, I work for such a firm. What's your job? Well, usually to be blamed and then sacked and then go and work for someone else. What? Yeah. And come in at level of director or something like that. Oh, I know the game. To be seen to be. I've seen fucking loads of that over years. Oh, I was a director at this firm, and I was a director at this firm, I was a director of this firm. It's like, what happened? Every single one of them. Oh, it's like, well, they were going out of business, so they brought me in to pin it on me. And they paid me for it. Really? Yeah. Generally, people who end up with it doing that sort of shit, it's like dirty tricks, corporate work, they usually get paid massively for doing so. At least they get a fucking penny. She was just cut adrift. If they were going to throw her under the bus like that, they should have paid her off. And then, you know, none of this would have ever, if they'd paid her off, actually paid her to take the blame, right? It would have been a closed deal, wouldn't it? We'd never have heard of anything. Maybe the sin would have been forgiven, but they didn't. They left her without a pot to piss in. And then encouraged a lot of conspiracy theories and shit about her. What's the shittiest trick you've heard of where somebody didn't die?
Appearance of this lie he told. That video of him saying he invited Ali Dawa exists. It's out there. But no one bothered to look for it. They just completely believed, once again, what their idol at the front of the movement, it's Tommy Robinson, how could he do any wrong? They just believed him and took a stand against Lucy. Lucy's life was destroyed. There's no other way of putting it. Absolutely destroyed. She had to go on to government assistance. She had a massive mental health collapse after all of this stuff that she sacrificed her life for. Everyone turned against her. She had to move back in with her parents, got extremely ill, going to counseling.
Lucy's had it worse. She's been like upset talking to her grandma, and her grandma says, you know, I was looking down at the local Tesco the other day and it said vacancies, and I just thought, you know, you could just go and work at Tesco and you'd be all right, and people would stop picking on you. People would stop coming after you. Could you not just go working at Tesco's and everything be okay? And Lucy'd be like, no, I can't even do that kind of job no more, because someone find out who I am and come looking for me, thinking they had the right to give her a slap or a fucking hit her over the head with someone. It's like Lucy's world is changed, her life destroyed, ruined. I mean it. It's bad what they did to her. These fucking guys, what they did, and they were given no reason to do it. But they unleashed a mob on Lucy, and the mob that they unleashed are fucking dangerous dickheads. And then just ignored it, walked away from it. And you know, strange old thing, so do you know what this led to? Lucy then being preyed upon. That's what it led to. Once one of these fucking monsters had thrown her under the bus, another one came along and preyed upon her. That's who these fucking people are.
Almost killed herself. she did nothing wrong. She did nothing wrong. And she kept trying to tell the truth and just say, no, like, we should have let him speak. That was the plan from the beginning, and no one believed her. They all took a stand against her. There are absolutely no rewards for people who stick to their values in this industry. No rewards.
And these are people that are supposedly concerned about young white girls being groomed and raped, and they're speaking to you in this way.
Yes, as a result of, standing up and saying, I don't necessarily agree with this, or, I'm going to go my own way. I'm now, sort of living in a kind of situation where I'm sort of scared for my safety.
This is something I really want to touch on because it's something I have seen repeat itself so many times. But after Lucy's massive mental health collapse, her life being destroyed by all of this, she still has stalkers to this day that threaten to kill her. She has people yell at her in the streets over her being the traitor to Tommy Robinson. All completely false. Of course, when left-wing journalists came to her and said, we care about you, we care about your side of the story, we're not going to treat you that way. Having someone say that to her, of course she'd want to go speak to them and have someone who actually wants to hear her side, which perpetuates the lie. People see her now go speak to left-wing journalists and they say, see, we called her a snake. We said she was a snake. We called it right, when in reality she was driven to speak to them by a bunch of people on the right being horrible to her.
Would you say he's far right then?
British people. Like him or loathe him, he speaks on behalf of them. It's not about him in a way, it's about the people who he represents, and there's a heck of a lot of them, and they feel left behind.
Yeah, and it's like a self-confirming prophecy, but eventually Lucy realized all the left-wingers that wanted to speak to her as well just wanted to use her for political reasons and then discard her, and she's been having a really hard time.
There's to this day, there's shit house rat level YouTubers and people who call themselves journalists who are actually still attempting to devour Lucy's corpse. They still come after her. There's still some blood left in the blood bag, apparently, to be squeezed. Seen by the cunt elements of the left as a Nazi whore, and seen by the cunt elements of the right as a sellout, spy, leftist whore. Like, I think the level of sort of attack that's come down on her be almost hitherto unknown as to where she found herself in some extremely dangerous territory without any allies. And it's like, how about that? It's like people who've gone after Lucy don't know what they should be fucking ashamed of themselves, in that you've, in essence, robbed her, right, of that she had that made her so desirable, being that she's like a boundlessly enthusiastic sharp. Been robbed of that now. She's had to take it away because she was used, you see. She had that spirit of wanting to be doing, right? Enthusiasm. She had it exploited and taken from her. So she's a different person now. And what she went through can't be given back to her. She's a different person. Her life has taken a different path because of it. And it's like, why did that happen? Because Tommy Robinson couldn't stand up to the thugs in his mob. Shit himself and back down. Right.
I a really hard time since all of that. A lot of these people that I kind of look back on as the casualties of this political movement I got swept up in, I still keep in touch with them. I still talk to them and ask them how they're doing every once in a while, and I care. A lot of people that were in my position, they're just the casualties. They're gone. But I really care what happened to a lot of these people. So I've still talked to Lucy every once in a while, and I spoke to her recently, especially letting her know I was going to film this. I asked, looking back on it, what do you think of these people like Tommy that did this to you? What do you think of, obviously I had my own experiences with this. What do you think of these people that just throw you under the bus for sticking to your values? And she wrote something that, it's like a dagger to my heart when I read it, but she said, personally, I think we stand as a mirror to their failings because they either gave up on their morals long ago or never had any in the first place, and are surprised when someone with nothing to gain still stands up for what they think is right. Exactly what they claim to do to their poor audiences. And, you know, when she talks about that mirror, how Lucy's sticking to her values and saying, no, you know what? You may try to ruin my life, but it was the right thing to say we should have Ali Dawa speak at this conference. It was the right thing. That's our true dedication to free speech. And I'm not going to lie about it. All I could think is when people see that mirror, that makes them look into how hypocritical they're being, all they want to do is smash that mirror. All they want to do is destroy people like Lucy who make them look at their own shortcomings.
Yeah, Lucy being actually in it for the cause. The real deal, turns out. And because she was gone. Funny though, because she's been trapped in a position. They've retconned history and told lies. How are we supposed to get out of that? She hasn't done anything. So that's most egregious sin of the bunch. Terrible what they did to her. Terrible. That's really bad. So how do you escape when those who are against you have all chosen to lie? And we call that justice. Where can you run? Where can you stand when strangers will believe them over you and then come at you? Sickest, most fucking cunt, evil fucking trick of the bunch. I was there, I witnessed that, I went there and I was not so far from where it all went silly, and it's like an itinerary change, but we're suddenly supposed to pretend that you never pull the wool over my fucking eyes, mate. I'm like, here we go.
And God, it makes me, yeah, it's, had to watch it one too many times, happened to far too many people that I care about. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna take a break.
That pose at the end sort of, it's a funny old sell that, but it's a matter of being someone who's, I mean, I've had the first part that I was a witness, inquired, speculated about what had gone on in certain events around Lucy. Lucy then contacted me and in essence cleared her name with me, right? And I believe her. And she stands by the same principle now as then, as to say, no, I was lied about. She's got this weird old thing where people feel sorry for her and start fucking falling in love with her, which means that her alliances just disintegrate. She's like out of the frying pan into the fire, back into the fire again. And it's not on. It's absolutely not on. It's a fucking despicable sin done against her by Tommy Robinson. A cunt's trick played, a betrayal. And, you know, even after that, when people came to her to ask her to sell him out, she wouldn't sell him out. There's things, as I say, I've spoken to her in the past, and it'd be, how did you get yourself, and why did you get yourself involved in that whole not hate thing? It's like you've, and yeah, she stands by it. It's like, no, I'd sooner, it's just like, he's a dick, but I prefer him to them witch hunters. It's like, as people go, it's like, as far as being acid tested, right? She's been tested and she should be forgiven for all that shit that she's had thrown at her. Because that's the starting point is a great stinking lie. And it's like, the people you were supporting and rooting for, and you put faith in, well, that's the kind of people that they are, who would actually ruin someone, sacrifice someone. They might as well have killed her. They didn't want to pay her off to take the blame, which would have still been a cunt's trick, but hey, every little helps. It's like, she's probably got it to where she could sue all kinds of people for the way that she's been treated, and she hasn't done. Because in some way, she has a loyalty, or even, I don't know, a fear of, or respect of what you would describe as the movement. Those people haven't gone anywhere. Those people are still in need of being represented. And it's a matter of, well, it's probably not your job to represent them, but it certainly was never fucking Tommy Robinson's job to. It's like, yeah, that guy's a fucking, all told, fucking nasty midget piece of work who has got a limited ability to send a fucking idiot to mess with you. It's like, don't have any hopes for any movement that he's able to hijack or even be seen as a learned colleague. He's capable of tricks like that. He's capable of plenty of other tricks, and let's be having it right, there has been plenty of other Tommy tricks, and it's a matter of, I think it's about time people stopped protecting Tommy Robinson, the imaginary friend, because those in the world who've been friends to him when it suited his needs sold her out so not to look like a dick in front of a lot of fucking meatheads. Like the company you keep, boys and girls.